You're listening to the Afro Chi Podcast, a show for my fellow Black female energy healers and the everyday woman who wants to heal her energy in a creative and holistic way. You'll hear from Black female healers who share their knowledge, gifts, and experiences and enlighten you on how to tap into your powerful Black energy to get the results you need to live an energetically free life. If you're ready to become unstuck, find freedom and peace energetically, stay tuned. I'm your host, Kiera Flipping. Have you ever heard of candle gazing, guys? Did you know that candles are a low-cost healing tool? Well, our guest today is here to tell you all about it. You can find our guest on Instagram at It's Me, Chris Johnson, and online at restempower.yoga, where you can learn more about their healing courses, services, certifications, and retreats, y'all. Some retreats are happening, yes. So our guest today is Chris of Rest Empower Yoga and Reiki.
Hey.
How are you?
I am great. How are you?
I am well. I'm so excited to talk about candle gazing. You and I had some time to chat before recording, and we kind of talked about just how powerful a little cheap, simple candle can be. So when people are like looking for tools for healing and they may feel like some services and things are just out of their budget, you can always use a candle.
Yeah. It's really great because especially in the US, right? The processes of healing have been unfortunately wrapped up in the processes of capitalism, right? So people are also often trying to exploit people and take advantage of people. And then the people who really need the healing the most often feel like they can't get it.
Yeah.
But most of us have access to a candle.
Absolutely.
Right? And it can really be any kind of candle. And really, most of us have access to all of the elements, whether it's air, fire, water, or earth. And it's just one way to bring the element of fire into your practice.
I love that. So could you just start off with telling us, like, what the heck is candle gazing? So for listeners that are like, a candle, candle gazing, what is it? What is the practice?
Sure. I'll step back for a second
and
talk first about the process of gazing.
Oh, yes,
right?
yes.
So gazing is considered a concentration practice, depending on what you're doing. And sometimes it's considered a purification practice. And so when you are meditating or doing any sort of healing work, right, one of the ways that we usually want to start is by purifying the body, right, purifying the mind, really removing those things that are a part of us that are toxic, that are weighing us down, that we don't even know is toxic, right? And so the practice of gazing is looking at something with the intention of the soul, right? So you are not focusing really hard on something. It's a soft gaze, but you are attempting to blink as infrequently as possible. So some people will gaze at the moon. Some people will gaze at one object. It could be any object. Some people will gauge at the image of somebody they love, like an ancestor or a deity. And one really common thing to gaze at is a flame. And you can do that, even at like a bonfire or something like that. But to do it in your home where it's a little bit more manageable and accessible, a candle is a really great way. And you can do it any time of day. Essentially, you sit ideally in silence, ideally on your own, really creating a sort of sacred space where you can really sort of convene with this candle. And this flame becomes representative of the divine in so many ways, right? Flame and fire are usually representative of transformation and purification and clarification, right? You think about wood being burned down to its element of charcoal, right? It cleanses so much. The earth has natural fire cycles because it's one of the primary ways that we're able to clear out that which is excessive. things into smoke, right? And it's part of the natural purifying process. And when you're gazing into the candle, and again, it's a soft gaze. What happens? Yeah, right. So you're not like looking really hard at the flame, trying to get something to happen, right? You're not trying to like make the candle move or anything like that. It's a pretty passive process, which is nice, especially if you're just starting out doing healing work, right? Sometimes people are intimidated by yoga or meditation because they feel like they have to do something.
Yeah.
Doing it right. Here, you really are just sitting and watching. And what you'll start to experience is this purification on the physical level. Your eyes are probably going to start to water.
Okay.
Right? Your nasal passageways may start to clear as well.
And that's all natural if somebody experiences that. Okay.
Totally normal. And it's actually desirable.
Okay.
Because it's clearing out your sinuses. And because meditation and life are so dependent on breath, we often don't even realize how connected our sinuses are to our breath, right? When you have a stuffy nose, you can't breathe properly.
Yeah.
Right. And that really does impact your ability to breathe deeply, consistently, and powerfully. And so it's a really good daily practice to cleanse.
Okay.
That part of the body. And eventually it'll kind of stop, depending on how clogged up you are.
Yes.
And what's nice about it, though, is that it ends up having the same kind of impact on your nervous system as crying does.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, without the sort of vulnerability of crying, right? Because it can activate, because your eyes are watering, it can activate the same healing capacity as crying, without necessarily having to even know what you're crying about.
Okay.
Which can be very powerful, because sometimes being very aware of the pain can make us not really want to deal with it and not want to let it go. And what's nice too is that you don't feel so alone, because that fire does have a presence, and you can attribute that presence to whatever you want, whether you're attributing it to God or to the ancestors or whatever. It can really make you feel like you're in the presence of spirit, and that can make you feel held and supported.
Hey Queens, isn't this such a great episode? Be sure to check out the Afro Chi Healers Directory, where you can find healers in your area offering similar services to the guests on today's podcast. If you are a healer, please be sure to join the directory so that Black women can locate your healing services and offerings. To join and view the directory, please visit afroqi.com. Okay, let's jump back into this episode.
Yeah.
It sounds like such a beautiful practice. And it sounds like it's easily accessible to anybody.
It is. Yeah, you can use any kind of, whether it's a little tea light, you could go to the store and get that bag of tea lights. Or you could get yourself a nicer candle.
Yeah.
Obviously, since we're talking about purifying and purification, when you're more able to, definitely step up and buy the candles that are made with natural materials, soys and your coconuts, and the ones that won't have the fragrances in it that will be beeswax is great, but you don't have to start out, if that's not in the budget, that's okay, because flame is flame, and spirit will overcome all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious, what does the process look like? So I went to the store, I have my candle. Do I just light it and sit it on the camera on the counter and then begin to gaze at it? Do I hold it? How do I do this thing?
So if you're going out to pick a candle, so you can use whatever candle you've already got. Right?
Oh, okay,
you don't
perfect.
have to go buy something new, right? If you're using something you've already got, do maybe run some incense over it, or if you practice Reiki, give some Reiki to the candle, just to make it feel like this candle is now special, right? Like it's not carrying the energy of wherever it was before, if it was hidden away in a dark closet or something like that. Give it its own make it feel a little sacred. If you're going out to buy one, just use your intuition, right? Follow your heart and see whatever your body tells you to get, and just get that. Don't think too much about it. Bring that home. You want to have obviously whenever I talk about working with flame, you got to your normal safety precautions.
Okay.
So don't burn it under anything, of course, that can catch catch flame.
Mm-hmm.
If you're using a candle that's not already in glass, like sometimes you can buy just the
Mm-hmm.
freestanding candle, I tend to put it either on like a piece of foil,
Okay.
right? Most of us have that, or like
Mm-hmm.
a little bowl, something that's not flammable, just place it
Mm-hmm.
inside of that. And then ideally you want to put the candle at eye level.
Okay.
So that you're not straining your body to see it,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're not having to look down or look up, right? And that way you're going to keep your spine straight and you're going to be in a comfortable meditation position, a
Okay.
meditative seat.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can do whatever you want to elevate it to your eye level. So if you're sitting in a chair, right, and you want to put it at a table, that
Mm-hmm.
works. If you're sitting on the floor on your meditation mat and you've got it on your altar and your altar's too short, you want to place a couple of books underneath the candle
Okay.
just to lift it up to your eye level. You can get creative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you've got, you're going to make it work. It doesn't have to be, quote unquote perfect, right?
Yes.
You just want to
Yes.
be really as comfortable as possible,
Mm-hmm.
because the more comfortable you are, the more you're going to be willing to relax and let the process work itself,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And then also the more comfortable you are, the longer you're going to be able to sit there,
Mm-hmm.
just in terms of practicality,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so if you're not straining your neck looking up or down, then you're going to be more
More
comfortable. You have
comfortable.
more time.
Is it?
And go ahead.
No, I was going to ask, is there a set amount of time that somebody should sit there, or is it just like meditation, like kind of take the time
I
necessary
would
for the
start
thing?
small.
Start small.
Yeah,
Okay.
but definitely take the time necessary because it has the same potential impact
Mm-hmm.
as crying, right?
Mm-hmm.
It might open up the heart space and you may feel a little bit of grief come up,
Okay.
right? And so if that's okay, that's totally normal.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to gauge what you're ready to work with,
Okay.
right? So
Okay.
maybe for you it's 2 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and then you build up. Like you do
Mm-hmm.
2 minutes for a week and then next week you do 3 minutes and then next week you do 4 minutes.
Okay.
The more extreme practices are about 15 minutes a pop, and
Okay.
then do it every day for 40 days, which is the standard sadhana
Ah.
practice.
Okay.
Um, but what you want to do is you want to pick the amount of time that's sustainable for you,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you only have 1 minute a day to do that, but you can do 1 minute every day, then do 1 minute every day.
Let that be your
Right.
practice.
And
Yeah.
that's going to be more powerful than doing 5 minutes here and 3 minutes there and
Mm-hmm.
7 minutes there, right? Because consistency is really what's going to give you the groundedness and help you recognize the patterns, right?
Okay.
And to be able to understand what's coming up and what's flowing up.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, like the things that may come up, because I'm wondering like why somebody would want to engage in this. Like why
Mhm,
would somebody want to sit
mhm.
comfortably and gaze at a candle flame?
Right? Well, the first time I ever did it was in my yoga teacher training.
Ah,
And
okay.
we did it right before a meditation. And
Mm-hmm.
it was a meditation that was meant to get us really, really, really deep. It was definitely a more advanced practice,
Mm-hmm.
something that was going to sort of tap into our psyche, right?
Okay.
And so, what was great about the candle gazing ahead of time is, like I said, because it purifies, it sort of takes away this extra layer
Mm.
of barriers
Mm-hmm.
that when you're trying to go deeper into a practice, this candle gazing can sort of burn away these layers you're not even aware
Mm.
are necessarily there that are preventing you from going deeper and deeper into a meditation.
That makes sense.
So
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes people will sit down and meditate and they say, I can't do it. I can't stop moving. Like it's hard for me to sit
Mm-hmm.
still. I fidget all the time. A lot of that is because there's something there in the subtle body, even in the physical body, that we're resisting moving into.
Mm.
And sometimes we need the help of something else to help us shift that energy,
Okay.
right? And it's really, really good for grief work,
Mm. Okay.
really good for healing. Like if you just have heartache and you don't even know why, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or even you do know why, it, I when I started doing it on my own at home,
Mm-hmm.
it's like I would wake up and do it first thing in the morning, and then everything else was easier. It
Ah.
was easier for me to get on my mat and do my yoga practice because whatever, you wake up with that grog and that fogginess or,
Mm-hmm.
you're anxious about something or whatever. It it was able to really sort of cleanse that stuff out so that I was able to have this clarity and it would remove a lot of anxiety.
I like
And
that.
then all that the resistance I had to the other stuff would kind of fall away.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
all I had to do was get up and sit down.
Yeah.
which is nice, you know?
Yes.
And it depends on what you're going through, you know? If you're the
Mhm.
kind of person that it's hard for you to get out of bed in the morning, it can be really nice because you still have to get out of bed. I definitely don't recommend burning a candle in your bed. But it gets you up, but then you can get up and just rest still.
Yeah.
You rest and you feel supported, because so often the reason we don't want to get up, right, is because we don't feel supported and our bed feels
Mhm.
so supportive, right? And or we're carrying some pain from the day before or
Yeah.
the week before, right? It's like
Mhm.
you get up and the first thing you do is just sort of release this level of pain
Yeah.
and release this level of anxiety. And it does kind of root you in this sort of sense of security, like, okay, I got this. I can handle my
Mhm.
day.
Mhm.
You know, I can do this. It's cool. And it's, you know, it's not a huge ritual. You don't have to do a whole setup. It's, you know, you don't have to spend 30 minutes working on
Yeah.
muscles. But it's, you know, it's a little practice that most of us can be consistent in and can really feel comforting.
And I love
Yeah.
that again, it's just so easily accessible. Like you can get
Hmm.
a candle and you have 1 minute.
Yeah.
You have 1 minute.
Yeah. Everybody can do that. And ideally, you do it at the same time every day.
Okay.
Because that's
Okay.
going to create this, it's going to create like this sacred hour for you, or the
Mhm.
sacred minute for you,
Mhm.
right? And you start to look forward to it,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
if you're just doing it for that 1 minute, you know, I think some people, it feels uncomfortable to start because they're not used to tearing up, or,
Mhm. Mhm.
but you eventually, you even look forward to that because you feel cleaner afterward, right?
Absolutely. I always feel
You
good
close
after
out.
a good cry.
Uh-huh.
I love a good cry. I feel so good. I be just so
Mhm.
relaxed. Sometimes I just want to lay down. Like a
Right?
good cry is good.
Yeah.
So
And
this
it's
is,
nice. At first, it'll be hard to keep your eyes open.
oh,
And it's
really?
you're gonna blink a lot, and, you know, your response to crying is usually to try to close your eyes or blink or wipe your
Mm-hmm.
tears. But because it is sort of a meditative practice, it is about learning to let those things happen, to
Mm-hmm.
not try to control it,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't have to wipe away the tears or blow your nose, or um, you just sit and let it flow,
Yeah.
right? And that
Yeah.
can be really great in terms as like a metaphor just for your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Is just
Mm-hmm.
to let it out. You don't have to do anything about it. You just sit with it
Yeah.
and set your little timer. If you've got like a little meditation app that can do a little
Mm-hmm.
ding, ding, ding
Yep.
after 2 minutes, set that, and that way you know. Yeah, and eventually you'll just be able to do it for longer and longer periods
Mm-hmm.
of time. Yeah.
I feel like I'll definitely recommend this to people who find it hard to meditate, because a lot of
Mhm.
times I'll hear like, I can't sit there with my eyes closed. Like,
Yeah.
I just keep thinking and thinking. So at least the candle, even though it's a soft gaze, it gives them something to
Yes.
focus on. And like you
Mhm.
mentioned before, that flame, it brings a sense of presence,
Mhm.
and especially in the field of mental health, depending on, different diagnoses and things like that, especially anxiety. Some people get
Mhm.
anxious from closing their eyes.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so that
And
brings anxiety. So to be able to
mhm.
just take a soft gaze, like you're still, present of what's going on around you. You got that
Right.
flame with you. It brings a
Mhm.
level of comfort, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And I come from a yoga tradition and background,
Mm-hmm.
so that informs my understanding of meditation.
Yeah.
And so in yoga, concentration always precedes meditation.
Mm.
And that's kind of the challenge in a lot of the modern meditation spaces that are not rooted in any tradition, is
Mm-hmm.
they just kind of tell people to sit down and stop thinking, and you can't do that.
That's hard.
I mean, you're not supposed to stop thinking. What you really are supposed to do is to stop giving so much power to your thoughts.
Mm.
And it's about being able to observe your thoughts without identifying with them,
Yeah.
right? It's about being able to create spaciousness between the thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
so that the rate at which the thoughts come just eventually slows down, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're candle gazing, you're probably going to have thoughts as well, and that's
Mm-hmm.
totally okay. And just like when the breath is the focus of your meditation,
Mm-hmm.
the candle is the focus here. And so when
Ah.
your thoughts run away, you just bring your attention back to the candle. You
Mm.
just bring your attention back to the flame, and it's just this constant redirecting. And it's really that's the process of meditation really is.
Yeah.
And concentration, it's bringing yourself back. It's building that awareness that your mind has gotten away from you. And then just gently, kindly, compassionately bringing it back to the object of your focus. And so this is sort of a double benefit because right, you're getting the purification, the physical purification, and you're getting this practice. Sometimes when you're, especially if you have a lot of anxiety, it helps to bring the attention back to something that's outside of you.
Absolutely, yeah.
And when you're first starting out, if you're dealing with a lot of triggers or anything like that, the most basic meditation is to bring your attention back to the breath. But for a lot of people, that can be triggering.
Yeah.
So it is one way to start practicing that, and eventually you move back into something that's more internal. Yeah.
I love this. Again, for those listening that are struggling with meditating or feel like it's impossible, you can't do it. Like, this seems like a good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely.
With this
And you can do it
practice.
with others as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Like a candle gazing type of circle or something?
Sure. Right.
Yeah.
And I think, for some people, they want to start, but they don't know where to start and they don't want to do it on their own. Right. Or they want to feel like they have the support of a group, which is why it can be really wonderful to go to a meditation class, right? Because meditation is supposed to bring stuff up.
Yep.
And sometimes that stuff is like challenging to witness, and that's okay because it's only through bringing it up that we're able to let it go, right? But in a group setting, you would want everybody to have their own candle. So that's when you buy that bag of tea lights if you're still trying to, keep it on budget. And everybody gets their own tea light, right? And you can elevate it to eye level however you want. But if that's not a possibility, that's okay. You can look down at it, place it on the floor. You could sit in a circle. And that's another thing you're going to practice is just keeping your attention on your flame.
Okay.
Right? Instead of looking at other folks, instead of looking at other people's candles, instead of comparing, right? That's going to be a separate practice, is just remembering to redirect your attention to your relationship with the flame.
Nice.
Right? And really focusing on your experience, even in the midst of a group. And that can change people's lives too.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Just remembering to focus on the self.
Which is a struggle for some. Especially in the day of social media, everybody's comparing themselves to one another and looking around, not staying on their plate, not staying at their candle eye level.
Yeah.
And before we wrap up, could you share like any feedback or testimonials from yourself or from, other clients or people that practice this faithfully, like some benefits that they've received personally in their lives or things that they were able to kind of burn away or anything like that?
The thing I hear the most often is that it really opens up the heart space.
Okay.
And so the heart, when we're thinking about like the heart chakra, is where we're keeping a lot of our deepest desires, a lot of our secret fears, a lot of our biggest dreams.
Yeah.
Right? We protect it sort of deep inside the heart space. And because it opens that up, a lot of what will come to you and what has come to me and to other people when they're candle gazing are these images that you weren't even really aware were, inside of you. So what's nice about it is, we talked about people who, they have a lot of thoughts, their thoughts are racing. You can bring your attention back to the candle gaze, but what might end up happening is the things you normally think about, you may actually stop thinking about while you're candle gazing, and this new information from the heart space may start to arise.
Okay.
And you may start to just over time develop this awareness of your true desires that maybe you've been hiding or silencing, right? And that can be really great if you are like not really sure about where you're going with your life or what direction you're in, or if you're trying to sort of make decisions about a relationship or things like that. If you're able to just sort of witness what arises from that space while candle gazing, just compassionately and without judgment, you're going to learn a lot about what's going on inside of you, and become a little bit more aware of the subconscious and what's kind of driving your decisions. And then you can start to redirect your behavior to to be more aligned with your heart space.
Yeah.
And that can be a game changer for folks.
I'm sitting over here so interested. I'm like, I wonder if I can try this with my daughter. She's only 2 though.
Yeah.
But, she be needing a chill pill. I be needing to find different creative strategies to bring her little baby energy down. I wonder if
it's very grounding.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Very
I'm like,
grounding. Yeah.
I think she'll be able to sit, and the flame may make her excited, like, oh, I get to sit here and look at this thing. So I'm gonna try that with her. That'll probably be a cool practice.
Oh, please let me know how that goes.
I will. Be toddler candle gaze, and I'll hold a toddler circle.
That's perfect. I used to be a classroom teacher, and I taught.
Oh, wow.
As well. I totally would do that with them. They could handle it for sure.
Yeah, just for like maybe a minute, just 1 minute with a little tea light that's eye level but away from her reach.
Yeah. And it's a way for, especially if you're in the city like I am, it's a way for you to reconnect with nature just inside your own house. Like, I think we forget often that fire is nature, right? It's not just plants and animals, right? And so many of us just walk outside and all we see is concrete.
Yeah.
Right.
So true.
And it really shifts the psyche to just be in relationship with something natural. Yeah.
This was such a beautiful conversation. I thank you so much, just how beautifully you convey this simple yet powerful tool that is right at our fingertips.
Yeah.
And it seems to be it seems to be like a really good like entry level into healing, into meditating, into grounding, into centering, into connecting with yourself, like especially for those anxious minds. Like this, something about that flame I feel just gives you a sense of something to look at, a presence that's there. Like it's not like I'm sitting here in this room all by myself with my eyes closed, like
right.
So again, I thank you so much. And guys, please make sure you check out Chris on Instagram, online. All of the information will be below in the description. I'm so excited. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. I'm so happy to have been on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Afro Chi podcast. Be sure to visit our website at afroqi.com and on all social media platforms at the Afro QI. Subscribe to this podcast now so you never miss a show.